I have a very out there notion that if the world were run by women and if women had control, that it would be a much better place. The more I can contribute to giving women influence and power and money, the better off the world is going to be. My name is Michelle Villalobos, and I am a professional speaker, and I mentor women entrepreneurs. I get up on stage and I give presentations. My objective is to inspire them to make a change, to take a leap, to try something new. I get very vulnerable and I confess. I confess my foibles, I confess my failures, I confess my all the things that are not so pretty to look at, all the ways that I messed up in my business and in my life, and I share from that place. And then I call them to a higher standard than where they are today, just like I had to call myself to a higher standard. So I do that from the stage, I speak at events, and then I also run a group of women, a mastermind group of women that collaborate together, we work together, and they're all on a similar journey. They're all trying to build a successful, impactful business. I spent most of my life just trying to please other people, trying to please my parents, trying to please friends, trying to be who I thought I should be, and who the world or other people wanted me to be. And so I did that, all the way through school. When I went to college, I chose a major based on what I thought my parents would approve of, what I thought was cool, or what I thought was, I could get a good job later. I never, for years and years and years through my 20s, I never made a decision based on who I really, really was. I didn't really know who I was. So at one point, I got to quote unquote success. I got where I thought I was going. I got where everyone else thought I was successful. I was actually the publisher of a Spanish language fashion magazine. So I stayed there for 7.5 years. I got an MBA while I was working there. I worked my way up the chain. I became the executive publisher. And I looked around and I was miserable. I wasn't happy with my life. I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was participating or contributing in a powerful way to the world. In a very impulsive moment, I decided to become an entrepreneur. And I said, I don't want to work for anybody else. I don't want any bosses. I'm gonna do this by myself. And for several years, I struggled to make it because, again, I wanted to impress people. I wanted to show people I could do it. I wanted to show my parents that I could do it. It was very ego-driven for a long time. I think that the entrepreneurial journey is actually a very spiritual journey because it really forces you to dig deep. I started to kind of discover who I was. Who we are in business needs to be who we are all the rest of the time. That's part of the work that we do, is integrating who you are into your business and monetizing that. And I found that I had a skill and a talent for imparting information, imparting knowledge, and helping other people. And I found that was very fulfilling for me too. So it was in the process of figuring out my business that I started to figure out myself. And I got clear that what I was passionate about was teaching and helping others. And then what I got really clear about was that I was passionate about teaching and helping women, especially. I had to do this process almost of like regressing. You're supposed to get more mature as you get older and you're supposed to grow up. I had to grow down. I had to go backwards in order to get back in touch with like my nature, my true self, my childhood spirit, which I loved to dance. I loved gymnastics. I loved dressing up. I loved creating talent shows. I loved choreographing dances. I was a super duper creative, outgoing kid. And then somewhere along the way, I got off track. I lost that. And I became this like serious, I have an MBA, I wear a suit, wear pearls kind of thing. And I completely discarded that old me, and I had to actively go back and find her. I actually had to sit down and be like, okay, what was I like as a kid? And I started to write this stuff down I had forgotten. One of the things I realized about myself is that when I was little, my favorite thing to do was solve puzzles. Whether they were physical puzzles, whether they were brain teasers. In second grade, I I came across this, you know how they make you go and sell raffle tickets when you're in grammar school? So it's this yellow book of raffle tickets that had like, the stub and it had the thing. And I got an extra book and it was like the coolest thing. And I decided that with this yellow book I was gonna create a detective agency in school. And so I went around and like wrote my name like a business card and ripped it off and gave it to people and told them that I was now a detective. I loved Nancy Drew. And so I loved figuring stuff out. I loved mysteries, I loved solving things. And so that's the thing that makes me feel most alive. And it's the thing that I get to do the most in my business, is I'm basically figuring out the strategy to help a woman's business go to the next level. As a kid, I used to create a talent show with my cousins. I would drive to Chicago from Colorado, and we'd get there. I was so excited because my cousins, I had 5 older cousins, and 2 of them, Danny and Nina, which I called Danny Nina, they were just so indulgent. And so the minute I would get there, we would start planning our annual talent show. And I would create the playlist, and I would go recruit the performers from the neighborhood, and I would go invite all the parents, and I would handwrite the playbill, this little thing that has all the playlists. And then of course I was the star, and I would roller skate around the basement singing Tomorrow with pigtails on and overalls. And the talent show is an obvious parallel because I put together the Women's Success Summit, and all that is a big old talent show full of women that I like and who inspire me, and a few good men too. That event's once a year. It's a 3-day conference. It's the largest conference, multi-day conference for entrepreneurial women in South Florida. And so it's basically a talent show. I get to invite people, I get to be the star, I get to invite other people to be on stage. It's basically kind of the same thing. And the whole point is to deliver value to an audience. This is actually something I talk about from the stage. I used to be obsessed with Star Search, Ed McMahon. And I just would sit there and dream about him discovering me, right? And so I think that show kind of set the stage, no pun intended, for who I am now, except that instead of waiting for Ed McMahon to come and find me, I went out and just said, hey, I'm here. I discovered myself. People have this relationship to their purpose. Have you ever heard anybody say, I haven't found my purpose, or I'm looking for my purpose, I'm searching for my purpose? That's how I was, and that's BS. You don't find it, you don't stumble upon it, you choose it, you decide it. Stop waiting for it to come and find you. Go get it, go figure it out. And if it's not it, start here, and if that's not it, then you can tweak over here, you can tweak over there, but you can't turn a parked car. If you're just standing still, you can't change directions. You gotta be moving forward. You have to have momentum. My core values are such a huge part of the work that I do. Leadership is the core value for women. First of all, as we lead ourselves, right, we become an example and a model for other women, and we can lead other women, and then we can lead the world. The next one is integrity. So integrity being totally in alignment with what you say. So making a promise, keeping that promise, or if you break a promise, because we can never have perfect integrity, how do we deal with that, right? As you declare who you are, as you declare what you're up to, and you declare what you're about, you have to live into that, You've got to, if you want to have any sort of congruency or integrity, right? So the more I declare, the more I share, the more I commit out loud, the more I have to step into being this better person. So what's our relationship to our word? The third is self-care. So in my life and in my journey, I spent a lot of years not taking care of myself. I let myself get sick. I drank a lot. I just, did things to my body that weren't such a good idea for many years. And then I got sick. And I realized, that if I don't take care of myself, if this vessel is not in good shape, I cannot contribute what I need to contribute to the world. And so I realized that one of my top values has to be honoring myself and honoring my self-care and my self-love. And so that's my third core value. Full self-expression is another core value, meaning being totally willing and committed to being myself, being authentic, right? And letting the masks go. And every day, right? It's a constant process of full self-expression rather than, hiding or not sharing or withholding. It's in the sharing that you can transform and that you can shift and that you give other people the opportunity to give you perspective, right? So a lot of times we hold things inside, we withhold something that's shameful or, that makes us feel bad. And it's in the sharing of that, we take back control. And so in the sharing of that, you might inspire someone else to share. And as we share these things, right, we can start to give each other perspective on it, and we can get perspective on our own stuff in a way that we can't when we're just in our head. Vision is the fifth value. A lot of people, as I certainly did, live their life out of a place of circumstance. Like, this is reality. This is what exists. This is what's in my bank account. This is the job I have. These are all the commitments I have. This is where you live from, and you make decisions from over here, from this circumstance place. It's very logical, but I value living from this place over here, vision of like, what am I committed to? What am I creating? What's the possibility for my life? And then you kind of have to just deal with these things over here, but you can't make your decisions from there if you have a commitment to doing something great. The sixth value is commitment to financial abundance. So that's another one with women. I work with women business owners, and so often they have such a problem, we had such a problem valuing ourselves, right? And charging what we're worth, and we're, asking for payment and getting paid on time, and this whole world of like issues with money. And so financial abundance is something that I'm committed to for myself and for the women that I work with and for women everywhere. I love dancing. I love being active. I love skiing. So I'm passionate about like using my body now and kind of appreciating it. So that's one big thing. I do yoga. These are things, I spent years sitting at a desk, right? Not moving my body at all. And so this is something I had to kind of rediscover. So I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about performing, about being on a stage and delivering a great presentation. I feel very alive when I'm on stage and delivering. As I focus more on that craft, right? And really honing that skill set of performing and presenting. Every time I get a little bit better and a little bit better, and there's so much more room for improvement, but I love that mastery process. I love people. I love being around people. I love laughing with people. I love music and just socializing with people. I love my Mini Cooper. I like driving really fast in the mountains and curvy roads. I like taking risks. I like trying new things, and I love food. I know a lot of women that I work with feel this way, that they spend their lives trying to fix themselves. Like, I'm not good here, so let me focus on this, and I'm not that good at this, so let me focus on that, and I need to be better at this. And it's like this constant process of, I'm not good enough, how do I become better? Like, let's operate from a place of, I'm perfect. There's nothing to fix. I'm great. Like, there are things I would love to experience, ways of being that I'd like to try. Like, there's always more and better, but there's nothing wrong here. Like, I'm good. And so when we operate from that place of I'm perfect, it's like, okay, so I'm perfectly imperfect, right? Like, the things that I'm great at, and the things I'm not great at, I'm not great at. But instead of focusing on those things I'm not great at, let's focus on the things I'm great at, and let's take those to the next level. Number one most important thing that has worked for me, and I believe would work for most people, is to have people that pull and push you, right? So I have coaches, I have mentors, I have crew, I have people that won't let me stop. And if I hit a wall or I hit a tough, place, they're gonna help me go around it, over it, through it, under, whatever has to happen, right? They're so committed to my fulfilling my passion and my purpose, that when I get weak, they're strong. I believe that that's the number one most important thing you need is a crew of engines around you. And most of us, a lot of us, I used to have a crew of anchors holding me back, right? So I had to get rid of all those anchors and go find some engines, bring them on my team, and that's the number one thing that's worked. I had a few failures, a few big failures in my business. I had an event that I put together, lost a ton of money on that event. Like, it just didn't go well. I got into business with the wrong people. So things like that in business, the failures, but at the same time, I would say the failures are the things that have propelled me forward. It's sort of like, oh, well, I'm never doing that again. I learned my lesson. And it's the thing that I'm able to use to educate. And ultimately, the failures were just a price I had to pay to get the knowledge that I got. I learned about getting in bed with the right people. And I mean that in business. Well, I guess I mean that everywhere. But, really choosing carefully people who are aligned with your values. Right? At sometimes in business, or I can say this about myself at least, there were times when I was desperate, where I didn't know how I was going to pay my credit card bill, or, or I really needed the money. And so I would make a deal with the devil, right? Make a deal with someone that I knew I didn't really want to work with, or I knew wasn't really quite the fit, or, because I needed the money so badly. And I've learned that it's never worth it. It's never, ever worth it to compromise your values. I'm someone who's way more connected to other people today than I was 10 years ago. I have much more self-worth, more value, much more confident. I mean, that's huge. Today, I would say I'm much more like I probably was originally, as a child. Like, I think I've bridged that gap, that in between was the person who wasn't really me. So maybe my core is the same, but I went off the rails for a little while and I had to get back to her. I still, every day, question whether I'm good enough to be doing what I'm doing, saying what I'm saying, leading who I'm leading. Every single day, I doubt. And then I just commit to being better so that I can be worthy of the opportunities that I have. I have purpose, I have passion, I have crew, I have financial abundance, I have everything that you could possibly want in a career. I'm proud of sticking it out, spending 9 years, going into 10, and sticking through the hard times, because there were some really hard times. I'm really proud of myself for doing that, because I could have very easily quit, and I know a lot of people do. And I'm glad I stuck it out, because I think I have a lot to contribute now as a result. Women are the answer to a lot of the problems on the planet. And so my contribution to the planet is to help women become more influential, more powerful, more wealthy, and have more ability to affect change around them. So for every woman that I work with who also has a mission, who also has a why, who also has a purpose, every single one that I can impact and influence and inspire, they go off into the world and they go and do something amazing. And I get to be a catalyst for that. So that's my why. That's why I'm here.